Yeah. Questions. So you can have my chair. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get started. If you can stand and join us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we do have a little bit of good news that Mr. Caruso was so graciously volunteering to share.
Come on up, Mrs. Feenstra. So I just wanted to take a moment to recognize Andrea Feenstra. She worked really hard on our Tiger Open this year. It was Andrea Feenstra, Kelly Gilbert, Denise Nicholas, Janet Dodge, Terry Manduca. I'm just there for the fun. I don't really work that hard. But those ladies worked very hard and they raised over $17,000 for our high school athletics club. So that's super awesome. Almost all of the sports participated. Some went above and beyond. You have the band playing on 10. You could pay them to mess up the team behind you, which was good entertainment. The golf team was on 1 and they would drive for you, which they did way better than anyone on our team. So that was great. We had the wrestlers out there. The cheerleaders were out there. The volleyball team, the UR Morgue crew was out there. So it was really awesome to see all of the girls and boys that were helping us raise this money. We'll be dividing the money out based on how active they were helping us out. And then we're gonna save a little bit of money so we can build it next year. We're talking about doing a 2-day tournament next year to make it even bigger because we already have 36 teams ready to play next year, so. And Jeff Johnson was on the winning team, so congratulations to Jeff. We had someone really good on our team. I only swung my club 12 times the entire day.
So you couldn't buy more.
Yeah.
That was the thing, you could only pay the band or pay
Yeah, you
to
could only
play,
pay to play,
so
yeah.
you couldn't buy mulligans. That's awesome.
So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Annual fiscal year audit, Mr. Vick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Morgan Browning with Harris CPAs will present the audit. We'll have to connect to the screen now.
Hey, can you hear me?
Try that again, Morgan.
Okay. Okay, Levi, can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Morgan Browning. I'm an auditor with Harris, assigned to the fiscal year 2000 audit. It's a pleasure to be with you here this evening, present the results of the fiscal year 2024 audit. My plan is to go over that we issue and then open it up to any questions that you have. So the first report that I'm going to go over is the independent auditor's report. And that report lays out management's responsibility for the fair presentation of these financial statements and auditor responsibility. So management is responsible for the fair presentation of these financial statements. And they're also responsible in maintaining.
Where's the link? So, hey, Morgan, can you hold on a second here?
Sure.
Probably gonna have you start over, Morgan. We had some issues hearing you on, I think it's on our end.
No problem, no problem. Start.
All right, Morgan, let's try that again.
Sure. So, great. Well, yes, my plan is to go over a report that we issued for the fiscal year 2024. Open it up to any questions that you have. So, first, I'm going to go over the auditor's report. So, the independent auditor's report laid out business responsibilities, the auditor's responsibilities, and the conclusion we reached from the audit. So management is responsible for the fair presentation of these financial statements. They're also responsible for establishing and maintaining internal control to protect their own misstatements on these financial statements. Our responsibilities provide reassurance to financial free misstatement, whether caused by error or fraud, as a result of our audit. So the opinion that we're rendering is termed in our profession as an unmodified opinion. So it's the highest that you can achieve in an audit. So congratulations to the district for getting a clean opinion in their audit. The next report I'm going to go over is a report on internal control over financial reporting. I'm going to go there real fast. This report is required by auditing standards. There's two parts. One is internal control. As auditors, we don't express an opinion, but we are required to understand your internal control and perform tests to ensure that they are implemented. So, as part of this audit, I'm pleased to report that we did not have internal control findings as a result of this audit. So, as part of government grant agreement, as part of this audit, and I'm pleased to report that there are no instances of non-compliance that we know during the audit. The third report that I'm going to go over is a report.
Morgan, the connection on your end is not good.
An audit of your federal work program. So auditors were required to compliance determined to be major. So the program that we tested this year is the Equalization Fund. So in this report, we actually do render an opinion as to whether the district in all material respect with the requirements with this program. So for fiscal year 2024 for the Education Stabilization Fund, I'm pleased to report that in our opinion that you complied. We didn't have any instances of non-compliance with that federal work program. Other part of this report is internal control compliance. Again, we did not know the internal control issues in the federal work program. Congratulations program audit. So summary on the last page of the audit kind of summarizes in a nutshell the results. So an opinion on your financial statements. You got an opinion on your federal award program. No internal control findings. So with that stated, I'll open it up to any questions that you have.
Hey, Morgan, we had, the connection on that other end is bad, so we're gonna have to, probably, it's a process for this.
Do we have to approve this today?
It doesn't get approved.
It has to be approved, this report.
Can we get a presentation next month?
We can't, yeah.
And sometimes it does help if he doesn't have his video on, that can prove his connection.
She works at my. she knows.
Go on.
Technology's great.
Yeah. No.
Okay, we will shoot for that again next month. Air Force Base update, is Colonel Hanson here? We do not have a liaison today. Okay, Superintendent's report, Mr. Gilbert.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I've got a couple of different things here to share. The first of this is, I had questions from several of our board members on things that we do as a district surrounding bullying prevention. And so I wanted to share some information today with you that hopefully answers the questions that the board shared with me. And so I'm going to speak in very general terms on this. As you can imagine, that's, you know, some of these are very sensitive items. And so I'll just, as I'm presenting, if you have questions for me, I'd be happy to answer any of those. So one of the questions I was asked was just, when we have any type of incident, how is it reported? And so whether it's a bullying incident or any incident, that incident can be brought to the attention of school personnel through anonymous reporting that we have on our CTEL Now app. It can be brought by a parent, a student, a staff member. For us, really, it doesn't matter how it's reported, we want it reported. And so once that incident is reported, then the process that follows is very consistent with the incident being investigated. And so I just cited up here some of the things that we do to engage in that investigation. You know, you have a district policy on bullying that we follow, and there's supporting documentation with that investigation. But when we get a report on any incident, there's tools that we utilize. You know, we've got a lot of video cameras in a lot of our buildings all over. Those play a role in almost every investigation. But then we also do where we interview students, we interview staff, we interview parents to try to get a whole picture of what is being reported. Okay, and then from that investigation, then a determination is made whether or not it actually fits criteria of bullying, harassment, some other reportable type of behavior. And with that come the consequences to those behaviors. And so I know that's one of the questions that was asked is, you know, and I'll just use bullying. What happens to somebody who is found to be bullied? And I can tell you, it's progressive discipline that's there. So what I mean by that is, if it's a student's first time they've ever been in trouble for a behavior, we don't kick them out of school unless it's a severe behavior. But with that, each impending infraction ramps up that discipline. And so I can tell you, in bullying situations, it's very typical that the first incident is often a suspension. But as the board knows, there's times it does progress all the way to the school board for hearings on expulsion. I think the frustration to people is they want to know what happens to the perpetrator. And I can tell you, there's laws protecting those individuals. And so I always try to explain to parents this way, that the discipline is occurring, but you're never going to know unless you're the child's parent. Okay, there's federal privacy laws for kids that protect that right. And so that's really the process. When we receive those incidents, they're reported. I'd be naive to think, though, that the issue that I see nationwide with this is getting people to report. And if there was a magic way of fixing that, I think you would solve a problem that everybody deals with. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not gonna say bullying doesn't exist in schools. Bullying exists everywhere. And right now we're dealing with things in schools that I think we need to keep in perspective too, that we have young kids that have been bombarded by behavior in the adult world. And we're trying to ask them not to mimic that type of behavior in school. And that's very frustrating. And this is not a political statement in any way. All you gotta do right now is watch the political attack ads. Like, that is the definition of bullying behavior. And so it's frustrating when we try to hold kids and expect them to act better than a lot of the adults do in society right now. And so I'll go back to that. Bullying occurs. It occurs everywhere. It occurs in schools. It occurs outside of schools. What we try to do with this is, number one, get people to report so that we can intervene at the school level with this. A hard part in this is what happens after school hours. Well, believe it or not, we do try to intervene in those situations as well. So a lot of what you see with social media bullying, schools actually intervene when they are made aware it's going on. We have our part to try to help with that. But I go back to, you're never going to completely eliminate it. I think everybody in this room that's young or old, when you were in school, this is behavior that's gone on for generations. Our job is to help minimize it, to give parents, students, and staff an opportunity to report it and to make sure that it's thoroughly investigated. So going through this, I wanted to pull up some district-wide data on this. So as of last, I believe that's Thursday, there were 22 incidences reported with bullying being mentioned in the incident report. Okay, doesn't mean that it was necessarily bullying. All of those were investigated. And of those 22, 8 were confirmed through investigation as bullying. And I can tell you all of those resulted in suspension. Those 22 incidents, the breakdown on who reported the incidents, we had 8 that were parent reported, 11 that were student reported, and 3 that were staff reported. The breakdown by this, there were some buildings that had 0 incidents reported of bullying, and there were some that had a handful in there. And so all of those, again, are investigated whenever we receive those reports. Prevention wise, another question was, what things do schools actually do for prevention? And I can tell you, they do a lot. So what I did is I had the schools each present to me what they work on for bullying prevention. It's like anything, the more we can do prevention wise, the less you have to do post-vention wise. And so again, these are also a work in progress, and I'm not gonna read through everything here for each school. This slide will be a part of the minutes of this board meeting, and so anybody in attendance or online is more than welcome to review that once those minutes are posted. So, this is Mountain Home High School. What you can see here is some of the prevention and some of the things that they work on. Bennett Mountain is in a little different situation. This is a big portion of their intake process with students. And so that's been very successful for them. Mountain Home Junior High, you'll see in here some common things. Sources of Strength is a social emotional learning program to really help kids on identifying bullying, reporting bullying, and more than anything, being resilient and teaching skills of resilience. Those are things that help outside of the school day as well. And as you can see in all of these, our counselors play a big role in this too. Hacker, these are some of theirs. PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. And again, this is what we're emphasizing is behavior that's acceptable, expectations that are acceptable. And again, you see sources of strength in there, monthly assemblies, teaching kids to identify bullying and teaching them. You know, I think one of the misnomers here is if a student walks down the hallway and they're pushed by a classmate, is that bullying?
Yes.
The answer to that is no. It's bullying if it's repeated behavior. Okay, if somebody just pushes them in the hall one time and there's no additional interaction, by definition, that is not bullying behavior.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. These ladies
well, I got it,
need to- Yes.
I think one of you might have signed up to speak, so you'll have your time, we want to give you that time, so if you could just kind of bring it to the flat, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, and so back to that, when those incidents occur, they're still dealt with. Okay, the singular incidents are dealt with. East Elementary, again, here you see some of the tools that they're using at East. Again, PBIS is in there, but a lot of this is again about teaching respectful behavior in the classroom every day. West Elementary, positive actions, the counselor, again, using some tier 2 for more small group types of activities. And then Stevenson, you can see there's there. And then one of the things I wanted to mention is in all of our schools, we also utilize in the internet filtering monitor. And that's called LineWise. And really that's to identify searches that students do that use words in those searches that are flagged. And so it's another tool that's there to help identify students that may be searching inappropriate things, but honestly, it's also kids that might be searching things related to self-harm, those kind of things. Okay, and then the last slide I have here is I was asked, what do we do when we know there's a threat of self-harm with a student? And so when we have a concern of self-harm with students, we do assess the student, okay? And that assessment is completed by our school staff. Typically, we have our school psychologist involved in that, and a counselor. And those results are shared with parents that come out of there. And then what we do is we implement a plan to keep that student safe in school. And part of that is monitoring the student throughout the day, doing wellness checks throughout the day, and then providing counseling services at school. But we go a step farther with that too. We also help coordinate services outside of the school day. So I just wanted to share those items with the trustees. I know you had a lot of questions. I'm hoping it answered some of what you had. If not, I would be happy to try to answer any additional questions that you might have.
When you talk about threat assessments, James, obviously this is more, I believe, to the victim of being bullied, it's kind of what you're referencing here. Our threat assessment's only done on victims or people or kids that may show signs of depression and self-harm.
No, a threat assessment is actually a tool. So they're a little different here. There's a threat assessment that's typically used on a student who's made a threat against the student, against the school. And so that process, again, it's a formal assessment that's done. And those results are shared again with the parents, and it helps guide the direction of the intervention from the school. That result can also be shared with law enforcement too.
And then how is, and this is gonna be probably tough, maybe even answer, but retaliation, I know it's part of our policy, it talks about retaliation, it shouldn't happen, right? Yeah. Once a bullying case is determined to be bullying, and we take the action, we take whatever that is, how do we, I guess, prevent that, that student showing retaliation?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. So part of that,
I'll give it a shot.
Thank you.
part of that is again, once that incident is investigated and a determination is made on that, there's the administration has that conversation with the perpetrator that's there, and that's actually in our policy that's there. So it comes back to it, you're using the progressive discipline along with that to say, if this continues, these are the next steps that happen in that process with it. But I think a big part of this too is, again, when we have students that are bullied, it's also that checking up on those students to see if that behavior is continuing. And I do know that that's something that they do. It's, you want to make sure that that issue is resolved at that time. But I'm gonna go back to this. There are instances where it occurs, and typically when those occurred, that's when you see that discipline on that student move from a suspension to where they're in front of you as trustees in an expulsion type setting with that.
And is there more awareness created with staff and things like that happen, the fear of retaliation, where there's more eyes maybe on the perpetrator? I probably can't follow around everywhere, but
Yeah,
is the awareness raised, I guess, within the building?
yes, I would be naive to think that they are not being watched at a greater level by all staff. But I'm gonna go back to this. I think where the barrier for every school district exists is, how do we get more people to report versus not report?
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm not trying to hog all the questions, so if you have some other board members jump in, I have to.
I just got two. The definition that we use in our policy for what we're bullying, it's not something we made up, it's something we got. Would I hear that's correct?
Correct.
Can you tell me where that came from?
So typically, the policies that we have, those are policies that go through a policy group. Whether it's the Idaho School Boards Association or in some cases, we have policies that might come from a outside attorneys group, but the definition of bullying is what is defined by, quite honestly, if you look up the term bullying. But so they're using a legal definition to it, and I know, that not everybody's gonna agree that it's repeated behavior, but that, by definition, that is a repeated behavior. But again, Doesn't matter if it's a one-time incident, that incident is still dealt with at that time. But for actual bullying purposes, it's repeated.
The other question I had was on the last one, when we talked about the plan there, you keep the individual safe that's identified for cell phone. Besides just checking up with the kid in school, do we check up with them to make, to see, you know, how some of the outside stuff is going instead of, do that checking,
Yeah,
how's it going, if it's helping, if it's not.
Yeah, so when we coordinate services, we definitely, there's follow-up to see if those services are being taken advantage of. But it's not, it's not just asking a kid each day, how are you? Some of those plans that can be put into place might be an adjustment to that student's academic day too. And so you're really trying to develop a plan that keeps that child safe in school during the day and helps them succeed during the day. And so, that's one of the things that I feel very confident that our staff does is when we have kids in that position, check that with it. Coordinating outside services, it's tough. There's things that go on after school hours that are out of our hands, but it doesn't mean we don't try to provide that. One of the things that I don't know if people are aware of it is the counseling services that are provided at our schools through Desert Sage for family counseling and student counseling. And again, those are things we know there's a need that's there, and we're trying to help bridge that gap in the community too.
A lot of the questions were asked by Trustee Averga and Trustee Goodman, but we do have one more, to follow up with. You kind of talked about after school hours, and this could be after school or even in school, but how many of these cases are reported that are social media related? And how are they developed?
Yeah, I don't have the data on that, Trustee Knox, but the reality is, especially the older kids get, most of it has a social media component to it. And that's really, it's a difficult thing when you're trying to, as a school, monitor after hours social media bullying, harassment that goes on. But again, we do, like, if we're aware of it, we're involved. And honestly, the police are involved with it too. They do a good job of investigating that, a lot of the after hours stuff. But we know that it spills over, happens during the day, it goes home, the days of a kid going home and not having that interaction, like 20, 30 years ago, we know that continues. So, I think that's part of, as a society, where we're really struggling, is kids don't get a break away from the harassment and from bullying that goes on.
On the reporting, going back to the reporting you talked about, so out of 22, 3 of those are staff. So I'm wondering, when it comes to training on bullying harassment, at the building level, who gets that training? Is it just admin, or is it the whole building? What does that look like?
No, I'm gonna go back here to the slides. You look here at the junior high, they actually, that's one of the things that they do at the beginning of the year too, is, training staff on things to look for when you're bullying, because the reality is, it's not gonna happen in front of an adult's face most of the time. So what are the things you're looking for? And a lot of it is behaviors, changes in behavior that are there. So yeah, staff, we do. Again, I'll be the first to tell you, there's things that I think we can do better. But I think it's the things that all schools need to do better with it. And I don't have an answer on how you empower people to report. Because I think a lot of the things that you guys are asking about fear of retaliation. I think those are real things in people's mind. But I also think there's a different mentality everybody takes towards bullying.
I just kind of wanted to make a comment here that I think that one thing that I know we talk about it and I know that we do the best that we can, and that is the communication with the parent. And I always think that that's a high priority on communication so that everybody, to a limit, you can't know all information, you can't report all information, but the parent needs to be in that loop. That this is a crisis situation that the schools are dealing with, and I think it's important to always know that the hand is out there for a parent also to communicate with the schools and become more of an advocate for their child. And also to bridge that gap between home and school. Because sometimes home is not the best place. For some of these kids, the reason that they're acting out is coming from something. But, you know, we hate to get into the blame game and everybody does it because that's a normal, natural thing that we all do. But, I just think that if we communicate better, between schools and parents too, just as a comment on my part, that things are worked out also to a level where we have more of an understanding of what we are trying to do within the schools. So I always like to hear about a component of the communication with them.
James, I wanted to go back to the reporting again, I'm sorry, but, just something I was thinking about, and I was thinking about it a few days ago with talking to somebody I really respect a lot, and she said, you know what, when it comes to reporting, what are the ways that these can be reported, which you discussed, right? It's typically your students, parents, teachers, or staff. And we talked about what are the hurdles for each one, you know, and obviously the students' hurdle would be fear, embarrassment, retaliation, things like that. Parents, you wouldn't expect too many hurdles there, but it could be where maybe they don't want to subject their child with some of that as well. So for me, and this is not to pick on staff, because I think our staff does a great job, that's why I asked about the training for the staff, you know, the third component is staff, maybe in the hallways, the paths and things like that. That's why I asked, is there training for all of them, you know, all staff, admin and, you know, teachers and parents to know, okay, hey, you know, when it comes to discretion of what should I report, what I should report, is that talked about, discussed in the building. You know, at what level do they get to make that decision of probably should report that, or maybe they should and let the people that are trained in bullying, if there is a separation between admin and staff on training, to let them deal with it and pick up the, you know, they may know what to look for as far as clues, or especially in somebody that's been targeted as a bully. We can say, okay, that one, that student probably need to look at that. So,
Yeah, I think with what the question is there, trustee Abreu, I think, and I don't want to lump everybody into one pot of this, but you do have a lot of professionals in the building who identify changes in student behavior for a variety of things, not just bullying, but a variety of things. And really that's why I go back, there's 22 incidents of bullying that were reported. Believe me, there were way more than 22 incidents reported that first part of the year. And so that's what our staff, you know, that's what staff, the big thing in this is what I think you find when reporting is better is when you have better relationships with kids. When that kid knows they have somebody they can trust in that building, the likelihood of them reporting stuff. But also for a staff member, the more they know that student, the more they recognize the changes in what is normal for that student. And so, you know, I think that's is something I'll give credit to staff on that work with those kids every day. There's a lot of things that they see in changes in behavior with students. It could be bullying, but it might be a whole host of other issues that then they help get intervention in with that kid. And so, again, not saying everything's perfect by any means, but you know, that's I think staff has a lot that they already do. But again, I'll go back with this. I think everybody can do more. And, you know, that's one of the things I really look at is bullying is not. And I don't want anybody in here to take this wrong. It's not a school issue. It's a society issue. And we've got to figure that out. The adults have to figure that out. We are part of the solution. And everybody is part of that solution. And so, you know, we're gonna continue to do things to help improve what we do with our part of that, because it's a piece of the community.
And this last one for me, just clarification, we do keep a file. For every one that we identify as a true bullying incident.
So when there is a incident that is reported, that is in the student's educational record. Yes.
I have one more question. On the services provided by Desert Sage,
Mhm.
are those just bullying related or are they open to other things and do they have to go through the schools to get them?
They are open, it's a family counseling, for a variety of things. It's really it's site-based counseling, trying to find ways to help with the community mental health component through our schools.
Is that by referral?
I believe, and I'll find out more information on what the steps that are using that trust about.
Thank you, James. Yep. And moving on to public comments, we do have one person signed up. Just a quick reminder. Is it Kimberly McCall? Did I say that right? Okay. You're welcome to come to the table if you'd like, to address the board. You have 3 minutes. You don't have to use all 3 minutes. You have up to 3 minutes.
Would it be okay
No.
to address the audience as well?
I'm sure that's fine, but, no names of students or staff, but you're.
Okay, I'd like to ask every one of you, in your childhood where you went to school, raise the hands of anyone who has been bullied or been a bully. And I know for a fact that at least part of you have. I became a bully, and then, well, first I was a bully, I was bullied, and then I became a bully. So the abuse becomes the abuser. And I know for a fact that there are people in this audience that have experienced being bullied in their school, outside of their school. Right? I disagreed with what you said about one push is not bullying. It is to me simply because no one should put their hands on anybody whatsoever in a violent manner. To me, that is being bullied. If I walked up and shoved somebody, I'm bullying them. I might get my ass kicked, excuse me, but that's the start of bullying. And I think that what we're missing a little bit is we're always focused on the victim of the bullying, you know, not the bully itself. So I don't see any compassion being taught. Compassion on both ends. Like, where's the compassion for that bully when he goes to school and pushes that one little kid down? How did he learn to do that? And what is that little kid supposed to do? Oh, it's only one push, it's not a bully. But he goes home and he has all of these issues with him. He's the bad, doesn't want to go back to school, fake sicknesses. You know, so I think one push is a bully. It should be. Agreed? Okay, thank you. And I think that that should be addressed. I know that everybody here is working super hard at making sure that this is something that is addressed, and it sounds like you guys are doing wonderful. All of these things sound great. I feel like the bully is being let off and needs to be taught some compassion. And at that point, the victim should also be taught some compassion because, again, the abused becomes the abuser later in life. That's a fact, statistically speaking. As a matter of fact, I was looking it up. And it says, let me get my glasses here. I'm old. It says statistics on bullying and suicide are alarming. Over 14% of high school students have considered suicide. Almost 7% has attempted it. Bully victims are between 2 and 9 times more likely to consider suicide than non-victims, according to the studies by Yale University. In Britain, they did a study as well, and at least half of suicides among young people are related to bullying. That's incredible. So where I feel like where we're lacking is in the very beginning, because we're sugarcoating all these bullies and we can do this, we can do that, we can do another thing. Maybe there's another way we can go about it. I don't know how.
Are you about done? Because I mean,
Yeah,
you've been really respectful. I want to give you,
Yeah,
a few seconds to finish.
So wait, my whole point of this was, really, as three ladies, and there's some friends of ours, we don't have children that go to schools, but we love children very much, and we see some of those children come home bullied. And I think that maybe if we took one more perspective and looked at it from that angle, maybe we could meet it in the middle, so. Yeah,
Thank you, Kimberly.
appreciate your time.
We need a motion to approve the agenda. So,
Second.
all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda, unless somebody wants something pulled out for discussion, we get a motion to approve it. So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Interested. Any opposed? Okay, that's business, none, new business, policy revision, Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your report packet this month for the first and only reading is policy 5408, sick and other leave. There's some additional language that's been added to that. And again, part of this is just a changeover to the different policy service, aligning what we currently have in policy to the formatting that they have.
I can't find my crap here, but I think on line 69, there was a typo. So we can pull it up. It's gonna make me read it. Thank you. Line 69. So 69, it says blah, 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 and then it says non-certificated, and then 12 monthly employees. I just thought that should be 12 months. So it's a minor typo.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. Now, if we get a motion to approve, in its first and only reading with that change, policy 5408.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Policy rescission, Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, with the changed policy 5408, I would ask that you rescind the sick and other leave policy in the old format, which was 407.5.
We get a motion to approve the policy rescission.
So.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? And request for approval for travel. Ms. Science. And your people.
I'm Ms. Mines Vinnigan, and I am not presenting tonight. The students that are going on the trip have a presentation for you. It's about 4 minutes long.
Yep.
Sorry, we have to sign it.
So you should be able to just hit the.
Windows K.
Windows K.
Do you have to click it? What's it called? Boardroom?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
I think you're presenting to them.
Oh.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, we can present that.
Hello, I'm Navon Bullock. I'm the president of Mount Home FFA.
Oh, hi, I'm Lydia Ortiz. I'm the vice president.
I'm Kylie Porter, I'm the historian.
I'm Hunter Carter, I'm the reporter.
I'm Zane Richens, I'm the treasurer.
We're here before you today to make our request to go to Italy next year. There'll be 21 students and 19 chaperones going with us to Italy next year, and it'll be a 9-day trip. And then it's a sustainable farming trip to northern Italy, and then these other places will be attending while there.
Day one, we will be flying overnight to Italy.
Day 2, we'll be traveling to Turin.
Day 3, we take a guided tour of Torrin. We ascend the Mole and Tenelliana into the panoramic views of the city, as well as we enjoy an exploration time in Turin with our travel group.
Day 4, we'll travel to the fertile farming region of Cuneo, visit a fruit orchard and learn about the cattle cycle and sustainable farming for a processing and packing center for seasonal fruits. Oops.
Sorry, I don't say.
On day 5, we'll learn traditional flour making methods at a historic water mill. We'll sample gelato at the local sweet shop, and then for a dairy farm to learn about cheese making.
On day 6, we'll take a trip to the Longay region and visit Longay Castle. And then at lunch, we'll be cooking our own, we'll be taking a cooking class, and then we're gonna stroll through one of the famous vineyards there.
On day 7, we're going to be traveling to the Bulgaria region on our way to Nice. We're gonna visit an olive grove for an in-depth look at olive oil production and then continue on to Nice.
One day, we take a day trip to Monaco and Nice. We take a walking tour of Nice, and then we visit a French perfume factory.
On day 9, we'll travel home. We'll also have a see above the city, as you ascend the Mole and Tenelliana.
We'll walk down Nice's iconic seaside.
And of course, you can't forget about the food.
So our travel dates is from June 22nd to July 6th, and it's a 9-day tour.
It's pretty cool. Our confirmed dates are 2 to 3 months before the tour. Our group gets to travel with some other groups as well. And so Meridian FFA, Filer FFA, and then the Nampa FFA and the Bonners Ferry FFA will be going with us. But our group by itself outnumbers all their groups combined.
Finally, we've already raised about $92,000 at the auction this summer. I personally raised a fundraiser steer. Completely all the proceeds went to a travel fund for Mount Home FFA. That includes scholarships to help get kids to Italy, as well as other traveling opportunities in FFA. Our 2 biggest buyers were Quanta West and Roll Telephone Incorporated. The others listed on there, just other supporters, some of them bought the animal, others just gave us donations. That'll be.
We're excited to tour Italy and learn about the different agriculture over there. And then, if you guys have any questions for us?
Are you learning Italian? Are you learning Italian?
No.
Pronounce some of the words pretty good.
I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, trustee Donahue, I think, wanted to deny the request, but I don't know how you could.
I wouldn't believe him.
That was very good, you guys.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Have a good time. We need a motion to approve that request. And I'll get that here.
I so moved.
Sorry.
All in favor? Any opposed? You guys are going to Italy. Okay, termination of ISBA resolutions. The fun stuff here. You guys get a chance to go through them. We can kind of go through them somewhat quick, as long as we all agree, if not, we'll have a discussion. Local control for school safety, I personally agreed with the do pass recommendation.
I did also.
The other one.
We're okay.
We're good over there? Okay. Two got withdrawn, three is funding safe and secure schools. I agree with you pass on that. Okay. Inviting state and local leaders to support efforts to improve early learning. If you have input on this, please jump in. I know you're dealing a lot with legislators. Anyway, I agree on that one.
I do.
And then restoration of lottery funds for school maintenance. Agree on that one. Expanding terms for supplemental levies. This one I question mark. I don't know what you guys think on it. James, maybe you can help us on this, but I didn't, for some reason, I just wasn't sure on this one. Resolution number 6. Do you guys have thoughts on this at all? I'm alone. Go through, but I think it was changing was it the maximum of the levies from 2 years to a term not to exceed 6 years? I guess my 1 year to 6 years.
1 to 6.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 to 6. For O&M, it only affects the O&M ones. Well, I guess my question, I didn't really disagree or agree, but my question maybe on this is. What if we don't need it?
Well, with a supplemental, you don't have to, so even if it's passed, you don't have to impose on it. And so my guess with this is just that for longer term maintenance type of operations that you're doing with supplemental maintenance and operation levy, you're probably, so who's the supporting district on that?
Oh, yeah.
Boundary, boundary. So trying to add some stability to their budget, Coeur d'Alene is their supplemental failed, and they're closing a couple of schools up there because of that. And so they're gonna be us back again in November, but I think it's just to provide more than a 2-year window to budgeting.
We have the approval to do it if this was passed up to that term of 6 years, but don't have to.
Right.
Yeah, if things are going well, we don't want to impose that tax.
You know, I think what it is right now you're limited, you can't do some, you can't ask for more than a 2.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to ask for, say, 3, this would allow you to do just to ask for 3 and ask for 4.
Right. In that case, I would be in agreement on that. With founding spousal hiring, exceptions for small districts. I chose to agree on that one. Opposition to public funds funding private school tuition. Hopefully that's a no-brainer. 9 got withdrawn. 10 is latitude for CT personnel funding. I agreed on that one. Needs-based grant fund for school facilities.
Yes.
Is that a heck yes? Okay, agree on that one. Local option sales tax to fund schools. This one I didn't personally agree with.
And there was no recommendation on this. also.
Right.
This one has been up before. The problem we run into is they have to get the legislature to change the laws. And 2 is they're looking at, in the past, it's always been the 2 districts that have brought this are the same ones, West Bonner. What they want to do is they want to say, okay, so like our state sales tax is 6%, they want to add a 1% tax on top of that to go to the schools. So you gotta change the laws through the legislature to allow that to happen. Right now, it cannot happen based on the current laws. And the other part is, these don't go, they're very afraid that these don't go away. I've seen it happen, we had it happen in Alabama, where they passed a temporary sales tax hike for money to go to schools. 3 years later, it was a permanent sales tax hike in the state, and the money didn't go to schools. So that's where And it's always been a no, no recommendation from ISBA every time it's come up. Basically, they don't wanna say they're for that, whether they're against it. They just really don't want to touch it.
Well, and I think just for us, I mean, if you ever want to pass a bond or levies.
Yeah.
Good luck with that, if you're opposed to that, I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I agree. I'm surprised it was on there.
We all agree to disagree with that one?
Right.
Agree to disagree. 13, amending school age for flexibility. Yeah, I agreed on that one. Age 14 got withdrawn. 15, funding for special education. I personally agreed on that one.
Yep.
Math and science funding to small schools. I agreed on that one. Swapping CIP for strategic plan. I agreed on that one. You give me thoughts on that one at all?
Same, different name.
Yeah.
Yep. 18, funding protection for school districts. I agree on that one. Boom, boom, bang. Does that constitute as an action?
Well, yeah. I mean, did it along, but I would just do we agree with.
All right, we need a motion to agree that, this is the way we'll vote in this section of the ISBA convention. They're all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, appoint delegation representative for ISBA business matters. Okay, that'll be probably me, and I'll be there. All right, you're out, right? Oh, well, I gotta take care of that when she's on the street, so I'll do it, Sharon.
Okay, but somebody has to nominate.
So move to Erica.
I would like to nominate Karen.
Yes.
For that organization.
Second.
All in favor?
You
Somehow we got 12 approvals.
should like to see like.
All right, we need a motion to go into executive session.
No move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Sharon, can you do a roll call, vote, please?
Sure, trustee Knox. Aye. Trustee Perez.
Aye.
Trustee Binion.
Aye.
Trustee Donahue.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye. And so resolved that the Board of Trustees of School District 193 recess from an open meeting to the following executive sessions pursuant to Idaho Code Title 74, Chapter 2, Section 74-202, 34C, 6A, open meeting, regular meeting, executive session, Section 74-204, 3, open meeting, executive session 74-206, 1B, to consider the evaluation of public school students, Title 33, Chapter 40, Section 33-4064, 4A. To hear 6 early graduation requests, IDAPA 080201.50, early graduation, and IDAPA 080203.105, high school graduation requirements, Idaho Code. Be it further resolved that following the executive session, the Board of Trustees will convene into public session for further business or adjournment of the meeting. We are in executive session.
The transfer is right there. For that, and you want them, I don't think it's probably more around this.
Probably, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Always entertaining.
So we're just gonna have you, wait out for your, you grab your.
Okay.